OG Ush in the cut, food for thought in the putt with the knowledge for your gut. Come and get it while it's hot. OG Ush in the cut, thought in the putt, knowledge for your gut. Get it while it's hot. Yeah.
What's going on, OGs? Welcome back. I hope all you lot had a good week, and I hope you took in some great lessons from going vegan the other week. And today we have a very special interview. One of my good friends and co-workers, Nicholas Soers, we have with us today, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm just gonna briefly, go over how we met and what led us to the interview. Okay, so I started work. Well, was it 2013? I want to say 2013 when I started back at BV. Okay, and then I think you came. It was like a couple years later. Yeah, it was like a couple years later. Nick came and I met him. Very, very colorful character. Loved his energy. And just the way we vibed and the jokiness, and I love his very informative. Like, he'll tell you too. He'll say, "Oh, it's like, what do you call it?" You say it's stuff that's like, you would say like fun fact or something like that. And he's like useless information. There you go, useless information. And I was like, no, to me it's like, every time he would say something like that, it's like, that's new to me. So it was like, this he telling me something, I'm gonna stick with him. But amazing guy, great guy, hard worker, and just like all around, like, it's hard to find someone that you can understand, that understand you, and that you can click with and be like, hey, like, this person gets it. And I feel that Nick is one of those people for me. Non-judgmental or nothing like that, lovable, and just all around great guy. Yeah. So I met him at work, and our job does different things, like with rehabilitation and just like giving people second chances and things like that. I'm one of those people. I'm gonna tell you, it's like my fourth time, right? But I met Nick at the job, and shortly after he started, he was going through some difficulties in his life with different things, and my heart just really went out to him, because it hit home a little bit for me as far as his journey with alcoholism. With not just my journey, but also my father as well, and so it kind of like I wanted to help more. I wanted to like dive in more, but it just felt like it was, it's a personal problem. It's a personal thing at the same time. I didn't want to overstep, but at the same time, I was ready to encourage, and so it led me throughout the years of our co-workership. Starting the show of OG Ush and the cut, I said I always had in mind that I wanted to bring you on the show and just speak your piece and just tell the fans a little bit about your journey, and things like this can really help other people, because a lot of times we think that we're in certain journeys alone to and betterment of self. And nobody else is, in my shoes or ever been in my shoes. No one might have been specifically what we went through, but it's a lot of people out there that went through a lot of similar things. And I think when we tell our stories or testimonies, I think that we people find familiarity in that and say, hey, if he did it or he took those steps and I was kind of just like that, maybe that I can, hear what he has to say. Maybe it's some light at the end of the tunnel for me, to betterment. So, yeah, with saying that, the first question that I want to ask you is, how did your relationship start off with alcohol? Because we all have a relationship with it, I feel.
Sure, absolutely. Let me just clarify. I remember when we first met, I started at Butterfield and Vallis.
Yes.
I was there for a couple of years, and I got fired.
Yes, I do remember.
And rightly so, because as you may have realized by now, I am an alcoholic. It's something that's affected me for a long time. But anyway, I was at Butterfield and Vallis, and I was there for a couple of years.
Okay.
And I got fired, rightly so, because my alcoholism was getting worse, and then I was doing stuff like just not showing up, not calling, my performance was poor, I smelled the booze, all that kind of stuff. So I mean, and if I was me, I would have fired me too. You know?
Got you.
I was out of work for 14 months. In that period of time, I had stopped drinking and managed to get sober.
Okay.
And I think it's one thing that's important to state to people. There's a lot of misconceptions about alcoholism and sobriety. Stopping drinking or whatever your drug of choice,
right?
Because it's all drugs.
Yeah, pretty much, right?
And as far as I'm concerned, alcohol is probably one of the worst.
Yeah.
Drugs.
I'd say.
There's a lot of misconceptions about addiction, alcoholism, and sobriety out there. Sobriety is not abstinence, and abstinence is not sobriety.
Okay.
Me putting down a drink or you're putting down your drug of choice, that is not sobriety. Sobriety is a whole state of mind, state of being, way of life. It's not just putting down. For me, it's not. I had over the past, I drank hard for 39 years. Coming back to your question, when was I introduced, my first introduction to alcohol, I had a bit of a weird upbringing. I was born in London.
Okay.
My parents had itchy feet. I was back and forth between here and the UK a lot. Hence my somewhat strange mid-Atlantic accent.
Okay.
Right? I was born. I was born in London. I first came to Bermuda when I was 3 weeks old.
Oh wow.
I went back to the UK when I was 3 years old. I came back to Bermuda when I was 7 years old. And I went back to the UK. This is the telling point. I went back to the UK when I was 14. They uprooted me. Love them to death, my parents, but the timing was really bad.
Okay.
It was right before I was supposed to take my O levels, which was a big deal back then. I did go to Saltus. I was very fortunate. My parents didn't have a lot of money. They just worked regular jobs. I'm not for money of any kind.
Okay.
But I was lucky enough that I was born with a couple of brain cells in my head, which I still surprisingly have most of left. So I was able to go to Saltus on a bursary. So they only paid a portion because they could not have afforded
the entire thing.
They could not have afforded to send me, and they still sacrificed a lot to be able to send me to Saltus.
Of course.
And so anyway, I was uprooted at 14 from Saltus to move back to the UK. I'm now obviously a young teenage boy with hormones.
Sure.
And anyways, I ended up in the UK, luckily enough to get into one of the last state-run grammar schools in the UK, which was a big deal. Very snooty, stuck-up school.
Real stush.
Striped blazers. They didn't even play football, strictly rugby and rowing.
Okay.
I mean, it was really stuck up. And here I am, some little short putty dude with a funny accent, you know, with half a mustache and sounding funny.
Not half the mustache.
You know, trying to fit into this school with posh friggin' white people, right? And I was only about this tall. I was a little fella. I'm still not much bigger now. But, this little Portuguese fella with a funny accent trying to fit into this big, wide, new world.
Got you.
know, because I hadn't last lived in the UK since I was a kid. I was 7, you know.
Sure.
So anyway, so I managed to kind of fit in. I was the class clown, and you know. Anyway, when you're 15, 16 in the UK and you're a boy, your ultimate ambition is to get into the pub.
Okay.
The drinking age in the UK is 18.
Yes.
But your ultimate ambition, you know, it's girls,
Yeah.
and getting to the pub before you're 18.
Okay.
I finally got in. We found the most unscrupulous pub. Like I said, I was about this tall, right? When I was 16, and I had my first pint of beer.
Oh man,
It was over.
it's hooked.
But I'm not saying now on reflection, I know that I've always been an alcoholic. I didn't know then, it was just a good time.
Yeah, yeah.
But what I did realize at the time, fairly quickly, is that I drank differently than other people. The true definition of an alcoholic is not necessarily somebody that necessarily drinks an exorbitant amount. The definition of an alcoholic is when you stop, when you start, you can't stop. You can't just go out, have a beer or two and stop. I still find that incomprehensible.
Okay.
I don't understand how people can go into the shop and buy 2 beers.
Right.
What's the point?
Yeah.
You know, I used to do that, but that was just to get me to my next stop.
Got you.
Type of thing, you know. So addiction and alcoholism is very misunderstood as a whole. But I knew from fairly early on that I drank differently to other people. You know, I got my first DUI when I was 18
Okay.
in the UK,
Oh well.
and but then we moved back to Bermuda, and I've been here ever since.
Okay.
And I didn't get my other DUI till about 4.5 years ago. So I went a long time without getting a DUI.
Yeah, for real.
But it's something that I managed for a long time. Was always a good worker. I've done a lot of things in my day, from running my dad's business. I've done a lot in my day. I've traveled quite extensively. But it is a progressive disease. We could talk about, or people would argue till the cows come home,
Right.
about it being a disease or whatever,
Okay.
or whatever. Some people call it a spiritual disease, some
Right.
people call it a physical disease. All I know is I don't propose to be any kind of expert, but all I can tell you is what happened to me.
Right.
You know,
Your experience.
and my experience, you know, and what I've come to realize through the course of my journey. Like I said, I don't pretend to be any kind of addiction or alcoholism expert, but I can just go tell you what I've experienced during the course of my experience.
Of course.
I knew for a long time I was an alcoholic, but I never chose. I managed to, like I say, manage it for a fairly long time. I worked hard. I made good money. I got married. I got divorced. I bought a condo when I was 20. Couldn't sign the papers. I couldn't sign the papers till my 21st birthday, which I did.
Okay.
I bought a house when I was 21 years old. I bought a condo when I was 21.
Wow.
Always made good money. Yeah, I've been and done a lot of things, you know, which a lot of you may not know about me. I'm fairly worldly, and I've done quite a lot of interesting stuff in my life. Even during the course of my alcoholism, I'm fairly well traveled.
Okay.
Like I said, I was lucky enough to be born with some smarts, and as you know, as some of you may know, I was also blessed with an amazing memory.
Oh yes. Better than an elephant.
So, well, you know why elephants never forget? Because they're never told anything to remember. But anyway, that's sorry, bad joke.
No, that's quite alright.
So yeah, so I've been and done a lot of stuff in my life. And,
Okay.
things kind of, like I said, I managed it well for a long time, and then I had a few events in my life which kind of pushed me over the edge. Like I said, I got married, I got divorced, went through a rough patch. So I was getting divorced from my first wife, and I started working at IBC actually, and when I first started at IBC, I was in a bad place because my wife left me. I was single,
right.
And, you know, I was just in a bad place, and I was depressed. You know, clinically depressed.
Sure.
You know, I was clinically depressed.
I can imagine.
Anyway, I started drinking pretty heavy, and I got chucked out of a few apartments for letting them go and not paying the rent, and spending all my money on booze. And at the time, I was smoking a lot of weed too.
Okay.
As a matter of interest, I
Sure.
I smoked weed way before I drank. I had my first joint when I was 12. You know? But the thing is with weed is I could always take it or leave it.
Okay.
You know, it was never a problem.
Addictive.
And now we can smoke it at Battlefield and Valley.
Listen!
But I wouldn't go there because it was never, weed was something I enjoyed, but it never got out of control.
Yes.
You know, for instance, when I was drinking and smoking at the same time, if I had a couple of little toothpapers, a 6-pack would last me all night. When I started smoking weed, I needed a case of beer.
Yeah, I got you.
You know,
I know
so-
exactly what you mean.
So it was kind of this. So I went through some stuff, and anyway, my hangout back then was Cockenfeller, which is now Pickled Onion.
Okay.
And you know, that's,
Good
if I wasn't at work, if I wasn't at home, that's where I was. And
Okay.
I used to receive phone calls there and everything. You know, I mean, it
Oh,
was,
wow.
it was great. I mean, I was
Second home.
yeah, basically. I walked in after work and my beer was already on in my
Okay.
spot. You know, it was there, right?
Okay.
And then one day, after work, I think it was a Friday actually. No, it was a Thursday actually. I walked in, beer there, thing, and like I said, the last thing on my mind was a woman.
Okay. Yeah, he's come out of a
that
divorce. You know?
I mean, I did have a friend, but anyway, that's
Well,
another story.
That's just to get by.
But anyway, honest to God, as I'm sitting right here, I looked out on the porch, and I see this young lady. She looks at me. I thought, this girl's gonna hurt my head. I'm gonna marry her. Honest to God.
Yeah.
Right? And she walked right up to me and asked me for a cigarette.
Okay.
In a couple of days, we'll be married 29 years.
Wow.
March 11th will be our 29th anniversary, and she stuck by me through thick and thin.
Wow.
You know, she left me. We've had some problems, but and I'm going to see her in a couple of weeks again. You know, and later this year we've set a date, September 1st. She's moving back to Bermuda full time.
That's a real one.
So,
That's
anyway,
a real one.
what happened was, anyway, long story short, we'll be married 29 years on March the 11th. Met her, long distance relationship. My phone bill before these things.
Yeah.
My phone bill used to look like rent.
Oh shit.
And I'm not exaggerating.
Okay.
You know, my phone bill used to look like rent.
Uh.
I mean, literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month before WhatsApp.
Right.
You know, they weren't even, you know, it was like, you know.
Yeah. You know. Rotary.
Yes, you know, you give that to a child, they're like, what's that?
What is it?
You know, and that went on, and we got married, and she came over here, and you know, but the pivotal point, I bought another condo.
Okay.
Right on the water, just over the hill there.
Okay.
Beautiful 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo. Right on the water with the beach.
Oh, nice.
You know. But my timing was bad. It was right before the economy went down the toilet.
Okay.
Because I got it for a really, really good deal.
Mm.
And I was convinced, you know, I was going to double my money.
Right.
Then Hurricane Fabian hit.
Oh, wow.
Then I lost my secondary source of income. I used to drive taxi.
Okay.
And my dad was getting sick. So he had to give up the taxi. He had to sell it. He couldn't afford to give it to me.
Right.
I couldn't afford to buy it.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't mad at him about that. That's
Sure.
just how it was.
That's how. Yeah.
That's just how
That's
it was.
life. Yeah.
So it was kind of a double whammy because I'd lost my secondary source of income. Plus, then I had far too much time on my hands, and I was again clinically depressed.
Okay.
So what did I turn to? More booze. So instead of starting off at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, it went to 4 o'clock and 3 o'clock, and after a while it was game on.
Okay.
You know, so. And then, so I finally sold it, and I didn't lose money. It wasn't taken from me. I always paid my mortgage. Sometimes I didn't have money for food, but I always paid my mortgage.
Sure.
You know, I was always taught responsibility in that regard. That's another thing my dad taught me was, you know, that type of and work ethic as well. You know,
I think that's the definition of a real man right there, to be honest.
And so I sold that and came out. As I said, didn't lose money, but didn't hardly make anything. But you know, I was in a depressed state. My wife and my drinking, it just went downhill from there, and I just got to a really, really, really low place.
Okay.
I was down to, I weigh 167 pounds. I was down to less than 120 pounds.
Wow.
Because when I go on a binge, my binge became a permanent thing. It wasn't
Okay.
just a one-off every couple of weeks.
Right.
It went into I don't eat. I literally don't eat.
Okay.
All my calories were in a can or a bottle.
Okay.
I think the only thing that saved me really a bit in the end, I was never really a hard liquor drinker. I drank beer and wine.
Beer. Okay.
And wine. But it ended up, regular Heineken's, then it went to Elephants.
Okay.
Then it went to the strong 8.6s.
Yeah.
And my weakness was Steel Reserve 211s.
Okay.
I'll put the hurt on 24.
Right.
I'll put the hurt on 24 to those. No, seriously.
I know.
So it got to the point, I got to a bad place. I got fired from Butterfield and Vallis. I had a little apartment, stopped paying the rent, became a mess, and I just went downhill. Ended up in hospital. And it got to the point.
I remember that.
It got to the point where if my eyes were open and I was conscious, I had a drink in front of me.
Oh wow.
Whether it was 7 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock at night. And most of the time, if I'd have looked at my watch and it said 7 o'clock, I couldn't have told you if it was 7 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock. And I was a blackout drinker, and I went from losing an hour here or there to missing days.
Oh wow.
Like literally missing days. And what the scary part is about that, when you're in a blackout, you function to a certain extent.
Okay.
You do things, but you have absolutely no recollection.
Wow.
I mean, I'm talking about riding bikes and going to the store and shit. I mean, you do. I mean, it's scary. I mean, you actually function to a certain degree. You have absolutely no recollection. I lost days at a time, and I'd done stuff. People would say me do stuff,
Right.
but I had.
That's crazy. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even know that. Like period. I'm just being.
So
Wow.
I went to my first AA meeting over 30 years ago.
Okay.
And many times I had decided I wanted to get sober. But I could. It's a complicated thing. It really is a complicated thing. Like I said, addiction and alcoholism, the worst part about it is trying to figure it out. Because it doesn't really make any sense. It makes good, intelligent, nice people, which I am most of the time, I think, do the most stupidest and try and justify the most ridiculous things. Sane, intelligent people, and makes them do the dumbest shit and rationalize it, and they think it's perfectly sane.
Like it's normal.
That's the grip it gets on you. It makes no sense. There's a phrase, cunning, baffling, powerful, which it is. It's part of the reason why it took me so long to get a few days of sobriety under my belt was trying to figure it out. But that just always drove me back to the drink. How can I say? Like I said, I'm no expert, but what I have found is by doing. I am a member of AA.
Okay.
I go to usually 2 meetings a week. I do one this afternoon, and I do one tomorrow morning. I don't do much during the week because I'm up early and I have to de-stress when I get home, make my dinner, etc.,
Gotcha.
etc. And I'm in bed early because I get up early.
The routine.
Yeah, I get up, and routine is very important.
Yeah.
To people like me. And it can start off with just something as simple as making sure I make my bed in the morning. Routine is very, very important. Structure.
Okay. Yeah.
Structure is very important. And if I have a really different type of day, it really makes me feel wobbly, like out of sorts, because it's good for me to kind of know what I'm doing and when I'm doing.
Yes.
Because it's. I mean, I know people. A good friend of mine, he was sober for 8 years, and something just snapped, and he went back out there, and it can happen in like that.
I'm sure.
It can happen just like that. But it's all I know is that it's a very powerful thing, and it took me a long, long time to come to grips with.
Okay.
But I'm very thankful, grateful, that I finally got sober. And one of the most things, my dad's just been gone over a year. My dad saw me get sober.
Okay. That's
which
cool.
I'm very proud of, you know. But I mean, I got sober late in life. I was 55. I'll be 60 this year.
Okay.
And I honestly feel better in my 50s than I did in my 20s and 30s.
Wow.
You know, physically.
Yeah.
Because I got to a bad place. I mean, I was within. The last time I was in hospital, the doctor said I wasn't within days of death. I was within hours of death.
Oh my Lord.
You know. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. I was in a really, really bad place. I was on a intravenous food drip for
Right.
For 4 days, you know.
Uh-huh.
Because when I just gag when I can't even eat anything when I'm like that. So yeah, and I think people say, well, what finally made it stick this time? Because I've tried so many times over the years to get sober.
Right.
I don't really have one definitive answer. I think it's just a combination of a lot of things over a time. But I think if I had to pick one thing, is that I didn't want to die. And what I tell people is that I'm not necessarily afraid to die, but I still got a couple things I want to do.
Oh, I heard that.
You know, and one thing that is very amazing about my journey, which kind of, I'm but listen, hear me out for a second. One thing that is amazing about this journey is that I've come through with my health. My old doctor retired and a new doctor came in, Dr. Moore, and I went to see him, and it turns out it was the last appointment of the day, so he didn't have to rush.
Right.
He'd looked through my notes, he'd seen my story, he knew I was an alcoholic. And he said, Nick, do you mind if we have a chat? I said, no, not at all, you know. And I was totally open,
Okay.
you know, honest with the man. And it was a good 20-25 minute chat with the doctor, you know. Really nice English guy. He'd been here before, he went back and he came back. He used to work with Dr. Shore up in Somerset.
Okay.
Dr. Rodney Moore. Anyway, real nice man. We had a really long chat and he just looked at me. He goes, Nick, are you a religious man? I said, no, doctor, but I said, I'd like to think I'm a more spiritual man. He goes, I'm not a religious man either. He said, but somebody's looking out for you because you have no right to be as healthy as you are.
Okay. Oh, wow.
You know, my liver's fine. I mean, I drank a lot. You know, I was at a meeting last week and a guy had just got a liver transplant, you know, because of his alcoholism, you know. Oh my God. I'm in pretty good shape after all this, you know. I still smoke cigarettes. That's the next thing. That's my next dragon to slay.
Right.
But, you know,
one at a time, right?
But what this was bringing me to, a lot of people hear about Alcoholics Anonymous and they hear the word God, which was a real hard thing for me because, like I said, I am not a religious person.
Right.
So I came through after having this conversation with my doctor, him saying that basically I'm a very fortunate man.
Okay.
I had
no
right to be as healthy as I am. Which kind of brings me to a lot of people when they hear about Alcoholics Anonymous, they think, you know, they hear the word God a lot and stuff. So, which I did too.
Right.
You know, and like I said, I'm not a religious person, you know.
Right.
I've never been a church-going person. I went to Sunday school as a kid because my granny was Catholic, and that's what she wanted my mom to. Anyway,
right.
So this whole God thing was very conflicting.
Okay.
Was very, very conflicting. But then after going to some meetings, speaking to some people,
yes.
It's stressed in Alcoholics Anonymous that it's not God.
Okay.
It's a God of your understanding, which you can also phrase, which I like to use, a power greater than myself.
Okay.
In other words, what that means to me is acknowledging that I'm not in charge.
Yes.
Because when I was in charge, things didn't go too sharp. Obviously, right? So I have a power greater than myself, or a God of my understanding. The best way I could put it, somebody said this in a meeting a few weeks ago is I don't necessarily know where he lives, but I know where he works. If that makes sense, right?
Yes, it does make sense.
And the important thing to do for me, I always knew that there was something bigger and better than me, but I couldn't make that connection.
Right.
About 6 months into my journey this time, I kind of had I guess, aha moment, if you want to say, where I decided that the only way, I decided I had to make this program work for me, because I had to make it work for me, because remember I told you I was in hours of death.
Right.
If I go back out there, it's death.
It's death.
I will drink until somebody finds me dead on the side of the road.
The second time, and the next
it
time
never gets
it
better.
gets worse. Yeah.
It's always worse. So the next step is death.
Wow.
And I finally decided I had to make this work for me. If not, I was going to die. And like I said, I'm not afraid to die, but I still got a couple of things I want to do.
Sure.
So, after about 6 months into my journey this time, I kind of had to make a decision that I had to let go of stuff.
Yeah. Sacrifice.
Yeah, but not just physical things, but mental stuff.
Okay.
I had to let it go
I'm with you.
and put it somewhere else, power greater than myself, to let him deal with it.
Yeah.
Because my mind is busy enough just dealing with myself and not picking up a drink one day at a time, because it's all about one day at a time.
Yes, it is.
And when I did that, after about 6 months into my journey this time, things literally started to change for me overnight. That's when, just by chance, I popped into B&B to price something. Of all things, some Depends for my dad, poor sight. He was in a nursing home. And to price some Depends for my dad. And I was scared as shit to walk into that building, because I wasn't even sure if I was welcome back there. I walked up to the steps in dispatch, and Richard looked at me, and I looked back at him. He goes, "Nick, I can't believe here, we were just talking about you."
Wow.
He says, if you got a few minutes, go upstairs and see Mel. I'm like, what? She called me back the next day and offered me my job back.
That's crazy.
Go figure, huh?
Wow.
I can't explain that, right? But it's weird how stuff happens. Like I said, I'm not a religious person, but like for instance, you're driving down the road and you're thinking about somebody, and then a minute later the drive cross.
And then you see up. I have that a lot.
You're like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But you know what I mean?
It's not deja vu, but it's another word that you would say for it.
Something.
It's something.
Stuff happens. And
Yes.
I mean,
unexplained.
I didn't do that. You didn't do that. Who did that? Who did that? It's funny. I don't know if any of you guys watched. I think it was it must be about a year ago now, when they who interviewed Matthew Perry? Matthew Perry, the Friends star.
Yes.
He was.
He passed now, right?
He passed.
Yes, he did.
He was a chronic alcoholic and addict.
Yes.
And they find it difficult asking people about God and the religious stuff or the spirituality, whatever. Anyway, they quickly asked him about spirituality and God and stuff, and he just answered by saying, "Well, all I can say is just go outside and try and make a plant or stop a wave." Think about it. Try and make a plant or stop a wave.
Right.
You can't do that.
No.
And who made that plant and who made that wave? So, but I believe in science. I believe in the universe. So it's conflicting at times. But all I know is once I chose to kind of have a belief system of some sorts, which is my own personal belief system, things have kind of swung around for the good,
Okay.
And the things are a lot better. On May the 12th this year, I'll have 5 years of sobriety.
That's wonderful, Nick.
And that's amazing, because I was at the point where I couldn't go 5 minutes without a drink.
Wow.
So it's been a journey, man. But like I said, I don't profess to be any type of expert. I tell people my story. They say you can't keep it unless you give it away. That's why I love to do meetings. That's why I like to speak. And
Right.
If one person can be helped on their journey by what I have to say, that's great. Because there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of denial out there.
Yeah.
And there's not just a lot of denial in people that have the disease or the problem with addiction and alcoholism. There's a lot of denial around it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of enabling of family members in order to keep it quiet, to give them that $50 whatever, so they can go get their whatever their
Yes.
choice is, because they don't want to be outed themselves by
Gotcha.
their sibling, son, wife, daughter. They'd rather keep it quiet.
Yeah.
You know? But I think perception is changing around that.
Okay.
You know, we're very fortunate in Bermuda. I've been to detox 4 times, rehab once away, but detox 4 times, which is here locally. Detox,
Okay.
Detox is not rehab; it's 2 different things. Detox
Okay.
is just a, it's only 2 weeks. That gets me off the physical need
Okay.
for alcohol. It's free.
Okay.
That shit costs $1,000 a day in the States.
Oh wow. A day.
A day, Lion.
Shit.
A lot of people don't realize how fortunate we are here. That shit's free here.
Oh wow.
I went away to rehab. I did relapse afterwards, but
Uh-huh,
I learned a lot. But our insurance, BF&M,
Right.
covered me. I wish it was longer, but I got 4 weeks
Okay.
at a rehab in Florida. Like I said, I still relapsed when I came back, but I learned a lot. It was like a foundation. So yeah, it's a baffling place to be in, because it's one of those situations when you get so deep into it, it's a hole, you don't think you can get yourself out of, and the only way to make the demons go away is to drink more.
Yeah.
So it's like a catch-22
It is.
situation.
It is.
There's no way out. But luckily, as I said, I still have my wife. My dad passed last year, but I still have my mom, and she's fit as a fiddle. I spend my Saturday mornings with her.
Okay.
And I still have my brother, and I still have their support,
Okay. That's important.
which is cool. And I'm grateful. Gratitude's my attitude, as they say, because I shouldn't be alive. If I'd continued on the path I was, I would have been dead a long time ago. I mean, I would have been dead. And when I say to people about dead is, there's no little bit dead. There's no half dead. It's kind of like being pregnant.
Even though we say half
it's kind of like being pregnant. Either you are or you aren't. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. Dead is fetching dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I said, I got some stuff I want to do. Which, I put off a lot of things in the latter part of I used to travel a lot. I went for a period of time. I went for 15 years without traveling.
Oh, dear.
Like I've never been on a cruise. I had the opportunity to go on many a cruise. One of the reasons I never, why I didn't go on a cruise?
Why?
Because I know I wouldn't have been able to drink. I wanted to.
Yeah.
Or how
Yeah.
or how I needed to. That's why I wouldn't go on a cruise.
Okay.
Because by the time I would have earned a cruise boat, because the money I would have spent on that day. No, but you know what I mean? It affects you.
I know exactly
it
what
affects
you mean.
It comes to the point where it's just everything revolves. Your whole world.
Yeah.
Everything.
It takes away all other joys and pleasures and responsibilities.
When the absolute, when that was lifted off my shoulders after 6 months, the absolute fascination, and it was with me 24 hours a day, alcohol. And when that was lifted off my shoulders after about 6 months, it weren't just a monkey on the back, it was a whole herd of friggin' gorillas.
Right.
You know what I mean? Knowing what the word serenity meant. I mean, I had 1,000 demons screaming at the top of their lungs in my head every day. I couldn't sleep. When I wasn't drinking, it was physically impossible for me to sleep.
Wow.
I had to drink myself out.
Yeah.
There was no such thing as sleep. It was drinking till passing out, waking up, drinking till passing out.
Right.
There was no sleep. When you go to detox, they have to give you some pretty powerful stuff to make you sleep. Because if not, I can't sleep.
Okay.
Now I enjoy my rest, man, and I don't need to take nothing. I went to bed 8:15 last night. I didn't wake up till like 6 o'clock this morning. I had like a good 9 hours last night, you know, 9-10 hours, you know. So yeah. You got any questions for me?
I do.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm no, but you know, because
I'm allowing
yeah, but
your
no,
journey in
no,
life
but
with
I'm-
this to
but-
kind of.
But I'm grateful because, you know, I can still, real quick, I can still be, you know, I'm still a work in progress. I'll just say
Of
this
course,
real.
we all are.
I'll say this real quickly. I drank for 39 years until I was 55 years old. Up until that point, and I'm still discovering, I didn't really know who I was. I'd never been a sober adult. So I'm still kind of discovering out who the real Nick is.
Whoa.
If that makes any sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Because I lived in, everything was black and white. That's why I like loud shirts, man. It's nice. You like it?
I like it.
You know, but you know what I'm saying?
It's very old Hollywood.
Yeah,
I'm
so,
digging
You
it.
know, and I'm still finding, you know, I'm still finding out who I am.
Right.
You know, because I was in a stunted state for so long. Everything was grey and black and white.
Right.
You didn't see the flowers. You didn't see the
No.
butterflies. You know.
You didn't care for much else and
No,
things
no,
like
because
that.
my focus
So
24/7
was alcohol.
was alcohol, man. Yeah. So I'm just in an absolute state of gratitude. I mean, can I still be that sniveling little ass? Oh, sure I can, but I like to think I'm a lot better than I used to be. You know, I'm a work in progress. You know, but old habits die hard, as they say. You know? But yeah, I'm a work in progress, and but above everything, I'm grateful. You know. I'm grateful I have people like you in my life who understand me and
Of
give me the
course,
opportunity,
Nicky.
you know.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for people like Kai, you know, who put up with my stuff sometimes, but I think I rewarded him by working hard, you know,
Sure.
because a good boss deserves somebody to appreciate him and work hard
Yeah.
for them, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm old school about stuff like that.
I know.
You know, I'm at work early. I start work early. That's just me. That's how I was brought
Yeah.
up. You know, I've never been afraid of work. I never have. And my parents never gave me money. I always worked. I packed groceries since I was 11 years old. And
Had your own pocket chain.
oh, I tell the story. British Airways used to have an office on Front Street. As I said, I used to live in.
I remember that.
I used to live in the UK. My parents didn't have no money. I used to pack a lot of groceries.
Right.
So I decided I'm going to England. I was 13. This is the year before we moved back. I said, all right, summer holiday, I'm going to see my mates.
Right.
So I went down to British Airways office. I'm going to right here.
Yeah.
I said, lady, I would like to leave on this date, and I'd like to come back on this date, please. Money's in my pocket.
Yeah.
So the lady's looking at me. I said, okay, young man. She's like, where's your mama or your daddy? I don't know, probably at work.
Right.
I got the money, not them.
Right.
I didn't know no better.
I forgot for a minute he said 13. I was like, why she's asking you that? Right. So you're like,
I didn't know. She said, no, young man, you need to come back with your mama or your daddy. You can't just do this.
Right, right.
They ain't got the money. I don't got the
the
money.
money. Yeah.
I didn't know no better, right?
Nick was ready to go.
Oh, yeah. I've got the money for the ticket right here. But you live and learn, you know. But, yeah, it's all good.
So you answered a lot, or pretty much most of the questions, and that's cool because my boy was on story mode. Okay, like I like to play Assassin's Creed on story mode, and that's cool because I like that because you answered a lot of the questions. It flows, right? The last question, what I would have for you was, what advice or words would you give to the people watching about having a relationship with alcohol? Or like kind of, in your opinion, what would you have them take home from this story?
What I would have them take home is, remember, there's a lot of people that drink too much who aren't alcoholics. It is something that can creep up on you.
Yes.
It is something you can, like me, for the first half of my life, I was a pretty regular social drinker kind of guy, you know. Go to parties and, you know, had it pretty much under control. But it is something that can sneak up on you.
Yeah.
Especially if some stuff happens in your life. That's not necessarily an excuse, but it can exacerbate the problem.
Yeah.
You know,
for sure.
like it did with me. But my advice to you is, it's real easy. You can just go online in the privacy of your own home and do a questionnaire.
Okay.
And if you say answer too many with a yes rather than a no, it can give you a pretty good idea of where you're at. There's a lot of discussion of people, are you born with alcoholism? Do you get alcoholism?
Really?
There's a lot of, again, it's a subject you could argue till the cows go. I personally believe you're born predisposed with it. I think I think you can have genes that predispose you to the problem.
Okay.
And it can skip generations. My parents never had a problem with drink.
Okay.
I never met my grandfather. He died before I was born, but I understand he was a binge drinker, which is a different type of alcoholic. They can go 6 months without having a drink, but then they go foolish for a month.
Okay.
So there's different types. And again, it's not necessarily the amount of what you drink, it's how you drink. Yeah, and the common misconception is that alcoholics drink every day. Not at all.
Right.
There's a lot of people who are just what we call weekend warriors.
Okay.
But they go foolish at the weekend. But they wouldn't drink during the week. But they're still alcoholics. So you don't have to drink every day to be an alcoholic. But my best, we have 12 steps in Alcoholics Anonymous. Anyway, if you come to believe it made your life unmanageable, that's usually a pretty good indication you're an alcoholic. If you can't manage your life, and that's everything from paying your bills, going to work, relationships. If all of that's getting completely unmanageable, and usually the common denominator, if the common denominator is alcohol, that could be a pretty good indication that that you may be an alcoholic. There's a lot of people out there who are alcoholics who don't admit to it, in denial, as I spoke about before. And I said there's also a lot of people out there who drink too much who aren't alcoholics.
Yeah.
Plenty of those as well. But if you're not sure, just go online, do some research. We have a book we call The Big Book.
Okay.
And there are meetings. There's two types of meetings. There's what are called closed meetings and open meetings.
Okay.
Open meetings, anybody can go to. You can just sit and listen, not to say anything.
Right.
And just hear people talk. And if any of the stuff rings a bell with you, you're always welcome. You're not judged in any way. We just only ask that you identify yourself by your first name or your nickname. There's no bills or there's no rules.
Right.
There's nothing like that. A lot of people have a preconceived, men in trench coats sitting around a table, smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee, in trench coats.
Right.
It's not that at all.
Not a trench coat.
No, but you get that misconception.
I got it.
A misconception of what an AA meeting is. But anybody's welcome. If you're not sure, you're always welcome to go, and you can always reach out to somebody that may or may not be in the program or has been to the program.
Okay.
And, just go find out for yourself.
Okay. Yeah. So, Nick, that's some real powerful stuff. Like I took home a lot of it. Okay. I enjoyed your story in a way that it was therapeutic. It was very therapeutic for me.
Well, it is a powerful thing. It had me in its grip for a very long time. A lot of people don't come out of it,
I know.
And the thing is, I have to stay connected. We say stay connected to stay protected. There's been people been out there sober and whatever for 20 years and gone back out there and died. So I have to do it I have to stay, like I go to meetings twice a week and I do certain readings and stuff, and and I meditate a little bit and stuff, which is all quite personal for me, but it's the way of me keeping my serenity and keeping those demons out of my head, because I could stop at a shop to pick up a packet of cigarettes, and one of those fucking icicle things could be right there looking at me, right?
Yeah.
And it would just be, if I was having a bad day that day, Kai gave me some fucking Bellman's order instead of a family food,
right.
I'd snatch that. But seriously,
no,
it can happen.
It would, yes,
it can happen that
yes.
quick. And once once I make the decision, this is where I make a decision. I make the decision to have that one. When I take that drink, then my decisions have gone out the window.
Yeah.
It's making the decisions for me. Once I make that initial decision, all bets are off.
Yeah.
I'm off to the races. As soon as I consume that first one, the alcohol is making the decisions for me.
Okay.
I am no longer making the decisions.
Right.
That's how it starts. Because I can't just have one. People say, well, you can't go out to dinner and just have a glass of wine? No.
Yeah.
Because I need to have 4 bottles until I fall over.
Right.
I cannot just have a glass of wine. People don't get it, and I get it. You
Yeah.
don't get it because
Some
it's
people-
baffling.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. That's why I've always said, and that's why we have to have meetings. We need to talk amongst ourselves because regular people don't get it.
No.
That's why I always say the best counselors, the best people that deal with this have been there themselves.
Exactly.
Are recovered addicts, recovered alcoholics.
Mhm.
You know, and the reason why I do this is so the world's not going to change for me.
No.
There's still going to be bars. There's still going to be wedding receptions. There's still going to be wakes. There's still going to be birthday parties.
Yes.
I don't want to have to live in a bubble. I mean, I don't recommend to people that have just got sober to go hang out in bars and shit. No.
Right. Yeah.
But if you do what I do, I'm coming up for 5 years sobriety. I can go to a bar where people are drinking, and I can have my Diet Coke.
Yes.
And I'm cool.
I
When
know
I
you like
travel
a
to
Diet Coke.
Scotland, when I travel to Scotland, they like to drink in Scotland. You know, it's hard to get away from.
Right.
So I don't want to be sitting somewhere doing nothing. I like to go and do
Yes.
stuff.
Yes. You want to enjoy your life.
So the reason why I work hard, my recovery in the way I do, is so I don't have to live in a bubble. I can go and enjoy that crazy world out there.
Yeah.
So I can go to these events. Like I said, I don't recommend it at first, but the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Yes.
To me, that's why it's important to maintain your relationship with whatever program that you're on.
Okay.
And there's other things out there. There's something in the States called Smart Recovery, which is less spiritually based.
Okay.
I've decided, I work my program the way I work my program. And now when I wake up in the morning, I don't need or want a drink. That's pretty cool.
That's real cool.
So
That's real cool, man.
I'm extremely grateful.
So you guys, I really hope that Nick's words were as therapeutic as they were to you, as they were to me to you. You gave me a lot myself to think about. There was a lot of things, there was a lot of things that you were talking about that I identified with, and some things that you said that I didn't, and it really enlightened me, and which is why I wanted to have you on this show, because I believe you have a very powerful message, and that it can really help a lot of people. Like, and I mean, like, some real serious ways, because like I'm sitting here listening to you now, and in my mind I'm going over some things or whatever, because I do enjoy a drink myself, and it's just like you said, what really stuck out for me was when you said it's the creepiness. You could be just enjoying your life with friends and family and whatever, and you're having drinks and whatnot, and you're doing it on such a regular, you don't even notice that when the music stops, when the lights go out, when the things, that craving, and that like, hey, how come I still want to drink? How come I still, and we don't realize that we're forming these habits, or we're forming what can potentially be alcoholism. And so I thank you for that, and for having you on the show and sharing your story with everybody, because I believe that it is going to touch a lot of people, and I hope that it encourages you or of a loved one that you know to just look inside yourself, or like you said, take a test and just see where you're at. It's just a little 12 questionnaire, I believe you said, that's online.
It can be more. You just Google it. You'll find a few different things.
Okay.
But, like I said, nobody else needs to know. You can do it.
Right.
In this books, you can
Completely
look at it.
anonymous.
It's completely anonymous. Yeah.
And just get more of aware, of your health. That's what this is. It's about mental and it's about physical health, but just getting more aware of where you're at or your relationship with alcohol, I think can be better for you and your family. Okay? So Nick, I want to thank you for coming on,
Thank you for having
for
me.
being in the
And,
cut, Nick. You've been in the cut.
Is that good?
Yes,
Okay.
good. Yes. we chilling. So OGs, I want to thank you once again for showing up and showing out. I appreciate your support to each and every one of you. And like I said, I hope you guys took home some things from these nuggets of wisdom from Nicholas Source, my good buddy and co-worker. Okay, so until the next time, OGs, all right, stay blessed and peace. Love you guys, all right?